intermediate financial literacy stage is exciting because suddenly you realize that there are so many different options for you to consider when it comes to your finances and also to building a life that you really enjoy. And when we're at this planning stage, we zoom out the lens and we're starting to think forward. And I'd love to hear from you guys on what this means to you, and if you've got any great tips to share for the intermediate planners.
All right, I'll jump in. So when I was a foundational money person and I was still just learning and everything, I was afraid to think forward. I think that's the first thing that popped into my mind when you said that. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing today, like how I'm going to get the groceries paid for, can I afford that? So thinking forward was not an option for me. So once I had that foundational skill set, I guess is what I'll say, it was much easier to start thinking about things that were coming in the future beyond the month, right? And how I was going to make it through the month with my paycheck. So also in all of that, I was only getting paid once a month at that time. So it's really tricky to balance it all as a month. So I was really I'm here in this month and that is all I can do. So thinking forward for me started to be planning. I started thinking about what it would feel like if my debt was paid off. What kinds of things would I be able to save for? What might I like to purchase? Was there something for my house that I might want to be able to pay for? Was there travel that I wanted to do? And so thinking forward for me really started like that, getting out of the immediate survival mode and thinking about what I might be able to do with my money in the future. I also think that for the first time, I really thought about I could actually retire. I know that sounds silly when you're in your early 30s, but I was like, I have so much debt and I cannot save enough money. How am I ever going to retire? And then once I was like, okay, I can do this, I really did also start thinking about that too. So that thinking forward for me was really just about getting out of the immediate time of my life and what might be able to come in the future.
Yeah, when I think about thinking forward, I shared in the last episode, the foundational financial literacy episode from last week, how I really started investing finally into an emergency fund. That was my first time I was thinking forward that I might need some cash in the future if something happened. And that kind of thinking started leading to some changes in my budgeting. So before that, I was like you, Jen, kind of living month to month. I had, some travel goals. I had some other little goals, but it was more like, what do I need for this month? Once I realized I wanted to start building this emergency fund, I realized, okay, I'm going to need some extra money to put into that emergency fund. Where am I going to get that money from? So it kind of changed my budgeting. It also helped my budgeting in a way that I was able now to prioritize things in my budget. So I was living in Shanghai, China, and travel is a really important part of my budget. And so it wasn't until I started thinking forward about, okay, I'm going to want to save to get up to 3 to 6 months savings in an emergency fund. But I also really want to prioritize travel. So I had to start budgeting differently and allotting money to different places. And once I started doing that, it really made me realize that whole retirement thing, like you said, Jen, too. And I need to start being able to invest some money. So that transformation going from I need to put some into an emergency fund really led to other big aspects that fulfilled me as far as travel and then thinking about retirement for the first time in my life. And also starting to learn to invest money. So that mindset shift, once I moved from foundational to a planner, was just transformational. That's really where I could see myself I am in charge. I do have some confidence now. I can travel the amount I want to travel. I can save to put in my emergency fund. And I'm even going to learn how to invest and start working towards investing for my retirement too.
Jen, that picture you painted, I remember being in that exact spot of having that transformation of going from feeling fearful and feeling like I was stuck every month. I remember thinking I won't be able to travel, or I can't buy, a new dining room table because I was just so stuck. And then you get to that magic point where suddenly you can plan, like your finances are, you have the foundation down, and you're starting to think about paying down debt and building savings, and you can see the future of being able to travel or being able to take a course that can generate more income for you in the future. Like the world just really, really starts to open up. And I know the place that I started, I had never had an emergency fund before. I always saved, but it was like this delicate dance between saving and paying down the debt that was required. But it was really life-changing in terms of planning to have that emergency fund so that when I had an unexpected car repair, I had the money, and it was no longer where, like, I don't know about you guys, but when you take a car to the mechanic, it feels like you can't breathe for that few hours until they call you and tell you the diagnosis. We had this recently. We had a ginormous car repair bill. Like I can't even believe it could be that big. And that was, I'd say, the first time in, several years where it struck me that way. But you're just kind of nervous waiting for this diagnosis. And the emergency fund or safety fund was the first step. And what I did with mine is I put it in a high interest savings account so that I'm earning, at least something on that money. If I don't need to use it, it's great. It's earning a little bit. And if I do need to use it, so like we needed to for that car repair, then we start the steps to replenish that. So you're constantly thinking, you're forward oriented, you're thinking of, what you need to do to plan out your finances.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. Remember, we'd love to hear from you. Send your thoughts, send your questions. Be sure to subscribe and like our podcast so you don't miss any episodes. And we look forward to chatting with you next time.